Hey guys, Alex here, otherwise known as Clash with Style, and welcome to part 4 of this tutorial series where we have built this tag up from scratch. So if you guys haven't stuck around for all of the tutorials, please go and check the other ones, because otherwise this last part might not make any sense. So obviously, for those who don't know, numbers go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So start with 1 please, then work your way up to 2, 3, and now we are on to part 4. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying this series. Hopefully you guys have learned something. Definitely feel like there's been a lot of information, so you guys might struggle at first, but you can re-watch it a couple of times and try and get to grips with it as much as you can. So in this one, we're just going to be looking at finishing touches, making the piece blend together a little bit more, and just adding those final details. So the first things first, what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a new layer. We're going to call this splatter. Okay, so now that we have our splatter, what we're going to do is, if you have any splatter brushes downloaded, this would be a great time to use them, but if you don't, I'm going to show you guys how you can do this. So what we're going to come in is we're going to click on scattering. We're going to turn this up to 1000%. Count, we're going to turn this up to 2. Count jitter also on 100. Okay, we are then going to put dual brush on and try and find a brush similar to this. We're going to turn up scattering quite high, so it's something like this. So you can see this will have this sort of effect on the piece. Spacing, we're going to turn that up quite a lot, and yeah, this is already starting to look much better. If we turn this up a bit, you can see, so this is what the sort of idea we're going for. We're going to want quite a small brush. We are then going to get a nice bright green color, and we're just going to click around a little bit, click and drag a couple of times. So this is just going to put in some splatters around the area that we're looking for. If you go over too board like this, go too much, just Control Z to delete it on your keyboard. So we're just looking to add a little bit of these sort of sparkles in over where all these main parts are. Okay, so we're just going to keep going here, there, and everywhere. I'm going to reduce the brush size ever so slightly. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to add in a couple up here, a couple over here. That's a bit much. Okay, that's looking good. Now what we're going to do is going to double click on this, come over to outer glow. We're going to click on this icon here so it pulls up this, and we're going to click on that color that we just used. We are then going to come up to our color options, click on linear dodge, and you guys can play around with the glow as much as you little or as little as you want. I think about 5 will probably work for this, and you can play around with this. I think about 50% will work for that. We're just then going to hit OK. Okay, now that we have that, we are going to create convert this into a smart object. So we're just going to right click on the layer, convert to smart object. We are then going to put this onto color dodge. Any of these sort of options will work most of the time. So yeah, we're going to put this onto color dodge, and we're going to have it on about 50% should work. Just adds in some of those glows. And for any parts that you feel stand out too much, just again grab a layer mask, which we talked about in the earlier tutorials. Make sure you go back to a regular soft brush, and then just go in and get rid of any of those bits that you feel stand out slightly too much. But for me, I'm happy with how that's looking right now. Definitely looking good. You can add an overall sparkle to it if you want, using the same method, using a white brush, but for me that's already looking a little bit better. Just adds in some subtle details around those glowy parts. So next up, what we're going to be doing is working on some of the finishing touches, and what you guys are going to be using a lot here is if you press shift, then control and alt, hold them all 3 down at the same time, and then press E. This will stamp your tag. Okay, so this means if you remove anything underneath, it doesn't matter, because you've got this bit on the top, and we're going to be using this technique to finish off this piece. So now that we've added our splatters, we're going to use shift, control, alt, and E, that method, to apply our image into a new layer. We are then going to come up to filters, and we're going to be using a few different filters, so try and keep up if you can. The first one we are going to be doing is, what do I usually start with? Let's go with stylize, oil paint. So in the older versions of Photoshop you might not have this, so if you don't have it, it doesn't matter too much, but I certainly love this filter. So you can see if I turn this up to full, this is what it does. Basically it smudges your piece for you. It will automatically smudge it. But what we're going to do is we're going to usually want stylization on full. If you turn it down a wee bit, basically what it's going to do is add that sort of topaz effect. For those who don't know, topaz makes it look a little bit more cartoony, and it's going to clean up your piece a lot more. Okay, so you can turn up cleanliness, or you can turn it right there. You can see, look at the difference that makes. It really cleans up the piece. You can turn the scaling down, just whatever, but personally what I like to do is stylization on full. Then I like to play around with cleanliness, usually between 0 and up to 2, somewhere around there. So we're going to go for probably 1.1, I think will work. We're then going to hit OK. We're going to make sure we're on that layer. We're going to come up to normal and click lighten. Okay, you can see that's going to make this really flow together quite a lot. But what we do is we are going to reduce this to about, probably about 70. Yep, so 70 will work. We're then going to create a layer mask. We're going to make sure we're on a soft brush on black, and we're going to remove all the parts that we want to stand out right here. Anything that we want to really stand out from the rest, we're just going to use a black brush and remove that effect. Okay, definitely looking really cool there. Again, Control, Shift, Alt and E to make another one. We're then going to come up here and click Filter, Gaussian Blur, and we're going to probably want about 5. Now we're going to go for about 6.5 on this one. And then we're going to go to Lighten, excuse me, and this is what we're going to come up with. So we're going to reduce this down to something about 30%, I think will work. Yeah, definitely looking cool. We are now going to click Shift Control Alt E again. We're going to come up and we're going to find render, and we're going to go to lighting effects. Again, with older versions of Photoshop you may not have this, but if you do, definitely worth using it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to play around here. Again, remember we want that lighting coming from underneath, so I'm just going to do something like this. That intensity is up far too high, and we're going to want it about there. We're going to click OK. We're then just going to reduce this down to about 25%. Again, Shift Control Alt and E. We're then going to come up and we are going to use a high pass on 7. Click OK. Then put on soft light, and about 35% will work for this. We're then again Shift Control Alt and E. This will be the last one. We are going to use a Sharpen Layer, and you can see this is going to sharpen up your piece a lot. It's really going to make it very sharp indeed, and most cases this is going to go way overboard. We don't want it to be this sharp. It's far too much. So we're just going to reduce this down until we're happy with what we've got. I reckon probably, yeah, 45% will work. Yep, that looks good. And yeah, I'm really happy with how this is looking now. The only thing I feel maybe it's lacking a little bit is the darkness, so we're just going to use an adjustment layer here, an exposure layer, drop this down ever so slightly, somewhere about there should work. And that is us. So I'm just going to group together these final bits, call them final touches. Again, remember to group a layer. You just click on the top one, hold Shift to get down to the bottom, and then click Control G, and that will group them together. So this is what we had, and with the use of the final touches, this is the piece we have finished off with. So I'm definitely very happy with how this is looking. Hopefully you guys were able to follow along with this mini tutorial series. If you guys did enjoy it, I'm looking to do some more, maybe involve some C4Ds, show you guys how you can easily smudge, some stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully you guys could follow along. Hopefully you learned some stuff and you're able to produce something vaguely similar to this. So thank you for watching. Any questions at all, don't hesitate to contact me, and I will see you guys in whatever my next video may be. Peace.